We are entering a 240-year rare eclipse portal. We're going to dive into some travel dates that you might want to avoid in the next few months.
I mean, just look at the amount of Epstein files that dropped. Harbingers of war conflict, but most importantly, major. And I highlight major historical shifts. This eclipse is almost like an episode out of the series Black Mirror. And that's like, good God, get a grip, girl. So I wouldn't trust that, technology and cloud systems that can be potentially self-destructive. I'm talking about the USA and China. And this is due to some kind of financial crisis that's going to blow up from within.
This Aquarius eclipse marks the turning point that sets the tone for the months and even years ahead. And so today we're looking at the astrology behind the February 17th Aquarius eclipse. What opens that portal, what closes it, and just how to stay centered through all of it. And in my conversation with Astrology Donny Lim, we're going to dive into some travel dates that you might want to avoid in the next few months. We'll talk about potential timelines for financial and earth-shaking events, if you know what I mean, earthquaking, shaking events in particular parts of the world. We'll also dip into the arena of extraterrestrial disclosures by governments, particularly the United States government, as this eclipse opens those kinds of doorways. And there's also a talk about where in the world most geopolitical changes are likely to occur. This is a world astrology video, not all signs, but my all signs video will be out a few days after this one. So stay tuned and please love up Donny. He's an amazing astrologer. Give him some of your cheerleading support. And it is a collab. So you can sign up for his channel here as well by watching my video. Thanks, guys. Enjoy this ride. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have you back here, Donny. Our last conversation was a hit on the channel. People really loved you and your precision approach to world or mundane astrology. I will have all your links in my description box for people to find you. And I do know that you can join me on Substack. And I saw you on the leaderboard trending really quickly. Tell me about that. What's going on Substack? What are you writing about over there?
Well, I mean, I've been doing some writing over there, and it was a surprise. And it's been how many weeks since I've joined Substack, and I've got like close to 500 subscribers already, which is kind of
not long ago. We were recording you and me for a video drop like only a month and a half ago, and I told you to get to Substack.
I think I joined Substack like late January, so it's been like barely like 2 weeks.
Congratulations. So tell people what's the name of your publication over there? What did you call
it? It's just my my name, Donny Lim. So Good. It's just one word at Substack, and you can find me there.
All right, that's easy to spell too. So wonderful. So people, you can go check him out. Link below, where he's writing up a storm and gaining a huge amount of popularity. So we have this eclipse in Aquarius. It happens to be square Uranus. And that's a big deal. There's so much going on. It's everything everywhere all at once. I'd love for you to share with us some of your research about what you think this might be about. And I'll give you the floor, ask questions when I'm confused or want certainty or have a thought about what you're saying. But I really love you to also just go with your muse and tell us about what you're seeing in the eclipse that we're coming into on February 17th.
Well, actually, I do find that the eclipse portal has really opened, and that's because we just had the Leo full moon that just occurred, and by using the technique of lunar shadows, actually 18 months down the road in August of 2027, we're going to have a corresponding total solar eclipse coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had that 13-degree Leo full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And then 18 months down the road, we've got a close to 10-degree Leo total solar eclipse. So I usually find that when we have something of that combination, as we are leaning into eclipse portal, the eclipse portal basically opened up sooner than expected. We probably started feeling it like some weeks prior. I mean, the solar eclipse that's coming up is still a good like 2 weeks. 2 weeks later. But then with this Leo full moon, it just kind of blown everything right off the gate. I mean, just look at the amount of Epstein files that dropped. 3 million pages, I think.
Quite a lot. I know.
And the horrendous stuff that we read about, and it's trending on social media. I found it really interesting that at the same time they're really, really pushing in the media this whole thing called Nipah virus from India.
And how do you think, yes, it could be quite the deadly pandemic if it starts to transmit more quickly, because it's got a high death rate and no real proper treatment or prevention yet.
And I found it really interesting that happened. All the media really pushed this Nipah virus thing over the Leo full moon that we just had, because I looked at India's chart and they do have a Leo stellium, and one of the planets is actually very close to the full moon point. And 18 months down the road, when there's a 10-degree Leo total solar eclipse around the same part of the zodiac, that same part within India's chart is actually being activated again.
Mm.
And not to forget that Leo rules children. And whatever that we uncovered in the Epstein files they are basically linked to Leo themes, really.
Okay. Yes. And yeah, the Epstein files, I always make a joke that a dead person's chart keeps working when they're dead, and he's got I'm trying to remember what degree, but I think it's his midheaven or whatever is in Scorpio.
His North Node, I think.
North Node, and that's North Node, maybe midheaven. But whatever he had on the top of his sky, that's been highly activated already as well. I think it's in late degrees of, I think it was Scorpio, by various things that have been going on. And certainly the eclipse is revealing, what I love? I wanted to share a really cool story about eclipses in general that are lunar, right? Lunar. And this was just a lunar full moon in Leo, not an eclipse. And it'll be a solar eclipse in the summer. But often I find that a full moon and a full moon eclipse, but full moon eclipses in general, but full moons too, they're like a flashlight. And they're often like, here's something you couldn't see. Like, let me show it to you. Let me really make it bright. And with Leo rising, Donald Trump, and the flashlight of the Leo full moon, which will be an echo chamber for the eclipse on August 12th, the total eclipse, you can see that he's getting a lot of turbulence on this Epstein release.
Well, and also that, by the way, the thing about Epstein being dead is alleged, at least in my view. I suppose you have that viewpoint too, because there's just a lot of shenanigans that is shrouded around his passing, and I call that generously inverted commas.
Because today that we are recording, Mercury squared Uranus February 3rd, 4th, and all of a sudden trending is the Reddit file where some guy who worked in the prison said that it's archived. It goes back to when the day that Epstein died. He posted on Reddit that he saw basically what he looked like the removal of the prisoner versus the death of the prisoner.
Yeah, Mercury square Uranus is definitely very scandalous. And we will basically get a lot more exposure pertaining to the files, because I think I read a post from Deborah Holding from Sky Scripts, and the binding feature of all the main players within the Epstein files are basically their natal placements in the late degrees of the cardinal signs.
Wow.
Yeah. And I found that really interesting because when I dug into the eclipse, I'm just pulling up my eclipse list, and there's not one, not two, but 3 eclipses that's coming up that will highlight the late cardinal degrees. So we will basically hear more about that coming up. Let me see. One of them is on 22nd July 2028. The other one's coming sooner, 18 July 2027. And I remember reading about a third one, 14th January 2029. So you can see 3 consecutive eclipses,
Right.
27,
Yeah.
28,
When the nodes are
29.
going to, yeah, the nodes will shift to the Capricorn Cancer axes, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then the eclipse points are going to be like 24 to 29 Cancer Capricorn.
Okay.
So that's going to highlight all the main players within the Epstein files. Talk
Hmm.
about Ghislaine, Jeffrey. I think Trump has got 2 as well, planets. And then, of course, the infamous Bill
Yes,
Gates
Trump does. He's got late degree Saturn in Cancer.
and
And Venus and
Venus
Venus.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
these guys are, well, as if Trump makes it that long. I mean, just one way or the other, he's under a lot of like, harm's way energy still.
I mean, like, why not we just get into it? Because I do see that in April, there's a window for him to be replaced by JD Vance because of health reasons. But if that window's gone, then we may actually have him for much longer.
And where are you getting that from? Because my followers are very astrologically sophisticated. What's making you worry about him or not worry? Think about his health. Why do you think about his health in April of all things? Is that the stellium in Mars, all those planets piled up in Mars? I mean, in Aries, I mean?
There's a triple conjunction of like Mars, Saturn, and Mercury.
Yes.
At 7 to 8 degrees zodiacally. And we know that the Mars Saturn synodic cycle lasts about 2 years into 2028. And that one is very tightly squaring his natal Mercury, if I recall.
Yes, it is.
If I recall, yeah, because Mercury is in about 7 to 8 degrees, thereabouts.
It's literally at 9 degrees of Cancer, yeah.
Oh, Cancer, okay. So it's close
8,
by.
9.
And right before Uranus will ingress into Gemini for good, it does make that conjunction with Venus at 29 Taurus. And that's just days after Mars, Saturn, and Mercury do that triple conjunction, forming that new 2-year synodic cycle. On one hand, that can mean that his health might get compromised then. But then he may also use that energy for something else which is more insidious that may affect a lot more young males in the country. That one, I'll get to that because that's part of my presentation as well.
And so for his health and the worrisome thing you're talking about, it's near his midheaven is what you're talking about, right? All of the action in Taurus before the stellium in Aries.
Yes, and I think that Venus and Uranus conjunction will happen, I think, on the 23rd of April, all right. 2026. So that's just like 4 days after Mars, Saturn, and Mercury come together.
So a lot of astrologers and a lot of psychics are all predicting health challenges for him. So it's not just one set of people, like the psychics are out there. Everyone says that, but he's almost like the ever ready bunny. He keeps on going, no matter what happens, he seems to keep on keeping on. But we will see. I have always seen JD Vance in the solar arc chart for Vance. When I looked at it when the election was on, as in solar arc time, he has this sense of advancing to great power within 2 years of the winning that election. And so I do think that he is like a king or prince in waiting. And I'd really be surprised if Trump makes the 4 years of his term. I'd really be surprised,
Because if he makes it all the way towards 2028, he may actually stay longer than 2028. And that's actually linked to the last video that we did. Probably you can link it, in whichever direction regarding the Capricorn Venus star point.
I will do that. I will make sure you see our first video in the description box below. I'll have a link.
Yeah, because in that video, I do see that if he makes it further down the road, I've not mentioned this part, he may actually stay longer than 2028, and that's due to the up to 4-way war that we're going to have from 2027 to 2030. Due to some emergency powers thing, that's how he's staying for longer.
Okay. Well, I can see Vance doing the same thing. If he gets to be a replacement and then there's, emergency powers and he's in the office, I don't see it much difference between the two. So
But I think there's also like a dark horse that isn't mentioned enough, and he's a fellow Gemini like Trump, which is Marco Rubio as well.
Okay. I got there was a famous psychic. I can't remember who it was, Sylvia Brown, maybe. Was it Sylvia Brown or somebody else? But someone predicted that at this time frame that we're in, this would be the last presidency. So, like the way we experienced I'm Canadian, everyone. Elections, a two-party system, 4-year terms, and there's some prediction by some psychic, and I think it could be Sylvia Brown in a book 25 years ago. Anyway, of the end of the presidency itself as we know it. So, if anyone stays longer than their term, we're going to see the end of the presidency as it is already known. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time, and I'm actually preparing a post which is behind a paywall because it's very controversial.
Yeah, you got to be, and that's the other thing here. We will not say any negative words that could get us demonetized or banned here. So we keep we keep the controversy coded very well. Okay, so I'm going to let you talk. Tell me what else is happening with this eclipse. Let's go ahead. Zip it up.
Well, before that, I'm going to put that controversial post behind the paywall on my Substack and on my YouTube membership. You can go either place because I'm going to cross post between platforms for that. In order not to get myself cancelled. So what's really interesting is that in between eclipses, like I mentioned in my previous video, in which you're going to link for the audience to catch up on, is that we're going to have this planetary parade that's going to happen on 28th of February. And I'm just going to quickly repeat this because I've mentioned this prior. We're going to have like Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They will be aligned in the sky on 28th of February in between eclipses. And with the naked eye, you can see Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Mars. They are expected to be visible, by the way. And of course, the outer planets like Uranus and Neptune, you will definitely need binoculars or telescopes to see it. And if we actually look at the eclipse, particularly pertaining to this portal, we do have the solar eclipse along the Aquarius and Leo axis, while the lunar eclipse is still along the Virgo Pisces axis. So definitely a transitional eclipse portal because they are along two different axes. And what I do see with this particular one, it does bring themes, or it does suggest themes of harbingers of war, conflict, but most importantly, major. And I highlight major historical shifts because of that Uranian feel to that Chinese Lunar New Year partial solar eclipse, which I'll be celebrating. But, I kind of put a dampener on my enthusiasm for that. And of course, like Uranus will be the last of the outer planets to ingress to a masculine sign from a feminine sign on 25th of April, but not without that conjunction to Venus at 29 Taurus when it happens like 48 hours prior on the 23rd. Yeah. And this table I've basically shown the audience before, but I've changed the content. So by the time we hit the eclipse portal, we will be fully in that cardinal, or should I say cardinality of 2026 into 2027, because we are already done with that Piscean energy for the first approximately 6 weeks into 2026. And then from Valentine's Day, by the way, when Saturn ingresses into Aries, we're going to switch into that cardinality energy. And this will follow us into 2027 because right when 2027 happens, we still have Jupiter in Leo and Saturn in Aries. So it's still having that Aryan energy. Using the Vedic technique of tracking the what signs being activated by transit Jupiter and Saturn in the sky. And with so much cardinal energy that's following us, we maybe just be, what's the metaphor? It's almost like we're being swirled in a washing machine, and we just have to constantly adapt to things because things are being thrown at us like we are in a netball game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And having Jupiter in Cancer all the way till June 30th. I know Saturn in Aries, right? Even though it's not by degree, there's still square energy there. And that square energy, we already experienced it last summer. That led to, the situation in Iran and the United States being involved. So certainly cardinality brings like bold, daring initiative and change. But I also find cardinality, especially when Aries is being activated, pretty gung-ho for matters to do with war.
And also when Jupiter ingressed into Cancer, I do recall there's a square to Jupiter. No, square to Saturn in Aries, pardon me. Yeah, there's a cardinal square when Jupiter just ingressed into Cancer. So that kind of paints like that flavor of, I think the last time that configuration happened was in the late 60s for a brief period in time as well. And in the late 60s, it's like this civil rights movement and all the protests that's going on. And we've seen that the amount of protest that's been going on, but this time it's led by Gen Z, of course, with their natal Pluto in Sagittarius being triggered by that transit Pluto in Aquarius. So I've written here that cardinal signs, they basically turn to turning points and exceptional activity. So things are definitely happening from Valentine's Day onwards, all the way into 2027, when Jupiter and Saturn are in both fire signs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of a positive energy. As soon as we get, the trine, don't you feel better than the square?
Well, the cardinal energy is also present when Jupiter is still in Cancer. So, but with Saturn in Aries and Jupiter in Cancer, we have that Capricornian energy, which is that potentially restrictive, like rules and legislations and regulations trying to pardon me, but shut us up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Jupiter swings into Leo, it's going to make that opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, forming what we call a cradle aspect pattern, together with Uranus and Neptune. And that one may be setting off a whole bunch of big shifts that's coming our way. I'm talking about potentially military drafts. Because if you think about...
Did you say draft? Okay, yeah, I agree. I agree. That's Neptune in Aries on its own without even this guy, yes.
Because if you think about Capricorn and Aries, the energy that's going to follow us after Valentine's Day, both signs Mars function very well in. And Mars has got to do with the military, unfortunately. And oh
my God, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, like the Department of War instead of the Department of Defense, that whole renaming of the United States Department of Defense into the Department of War is insane, right? Like Hegsworth, is that the guy? That's just nuts. That's like psychotic, actually. This is like the Roman Empire before it fell apart, but keep going.
Well, I'm going to have a slide that talks about something pertaining to the military draft. So that's one of my concerns as well. And this is going to really impact young men 18 to 25. Yeah. I've read more about that. Yeah. And kind of summarized it for the audience. And so we're going to start off with, or should I say the majority focus will be on that solar eclipse squaring Uranus that's coming up on Chinese Lunar New Year of the fire horse or crimson goat, depending how you see it. It's going to be fiery. And This particular solar eclipse is going to activate quite a number of placements in the world, particularly the Saturn of North and South Korea and NATO. It's going to activate Israel's Mars, Estonia's Sun, Iraq's Sun, Mercury, Pluto, and Iran's moon will be squared by that transit Uranus in the sky.
Mm.
And all these places, you definitely have to take note. And I do see that over the course of the unfolding, or should I say the seeding of this partial solar eclipse, there's about to have some kind of cyber attacks on financial institutions, Uranus and Taurus. Not surprising. And we may actually feel like this eclipse is almost like an episode out of the series Black Mirror.
Oh, I remember that show.
Because if you think about black is Saturn and mirror is Neptune, and they both will be at 0 degrees of Aries on this particular partial solar eclipse in front of our eyes. So things can become surreal. And I've looked at the analytics of our last video, and more than 85% are ladies. So what's my advice here? If you're thinking that you're going to lose your shit over this partial solar eclipse, I'll go on and say there's 5 G's which I remember. And that's like, good God, get a grip, girl. So you've been warned. And some parts of the world, as I've written here, will have a higher probability of a Uranus or Uranian related organized cyber hacking crimes. Some countries will get it more than others. And I'm talking about, I think in particular, Southern Europe will have it much worse. Yeah, will have it much worse than other parts of the world. Well, Western Europe, Western into South Europe. I'm talking about like France, like Spain and Portugal, around that part of the world.
Okay.
And also, if you draw the energetic line upwards, we actually can reach like places like Belgium and Netherlands as well.
Are you talking about geodetic astrology?
I'm talking about astrocartography.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, astrocartography. And so that part of the world will actually see an increased likelihood of this happen. So I wouldn't think that, or should I say, go into this eclipse season thinking that technology may work. Well, I'm talking about not having enough cash with you, not having to back up your important data. Do have that ready leading up to this eclipse, because you wouldn't trust with your life that things will work, especially when a solar eclipse is squaring Uranus.
Yeah, don't rely on your cash machine, in your bank. Don't do that. Have a little bit of something else on hand.
Yeah, have like a plan B, at least. And also back up your data, because what I found is that the solar and the lunar eclipse, they are binded together with that Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Because if you think about it, Mercury rules Gemini, which is in a triplicity relationship to Aquarius. And then after that, we're going to have a Virgo total lunar eclipse, which is Mercury ruled. So that Mercury binds these two eclipses together, and it is in Pisces retrograding. Mercury doesn't feel comfortable in Pisces at all by dignity.
Yeah. He'll be retrograding, I think, around the third week, 26 maybe, memory serves me.
In between eclipses.
Even between eclipses for 3 weeks, exactly. And staying in Pisces to mid-April as well because of the retrogradation. So.
Oh, yeah, but then it actually gets out of the shadow degrees, I think right when we are entering Aries season.
Okay.
So there's still like the third week of March. It's still a long time to think about. So I wouldn't trust that, technology and cloud systems, whatever storage that you have, to actually function as intended. And okay, so this is the one that I just want to lay all bare for the audience to read, because
take a screenshot, guys.
When I was looking at what that Uranus in Taurus may actually entail close to Algol, that's squaring the eclipse point pretty tightly, less than 1.5 degrees apart from the eclipse point.
Okay,
I basically came up with this list.
For followers, Algol is a difficult star that can be about corpses, rotting bodies, mass graves, decapitation, literally like
Medusa energy.
Medusa's myth, yeah. But the myth of losing one's head, which can be literally head of state, head of power, but literally also attempts to unalive you through mechanisms of, unaliving you that you're not in charge of, where someone tries to unalive you. That can be very Algol, as we saw in July 13th, 2024, when that star was highly activated, well, also with Mars and Uranus on Trump's midheaven. So we see that as a very difficult energy. I just wanted, because someone didn't know what Algol was, I need to share that.
And throw in that Mercury retrograde in Pisces, that's linking both eclipses together within this portal. Oof, girl. Yeah, it's like this muddy and yucky energy that's laid on top of it. And so that's why I'm trying to get as much work done before the eclipses as possible. I'll still be open for consultations, by the way. Yeah. And I just want to mention here that when I think about Uranus in Taurus, I think about rare earths, very much so. And there's going to be this race for rare earth supplies, and countries are going to not tell you upfront about their motivations. But then I think we all know the whole thing regarding Greenland. Part of it is because of that rare earth supply, amongst other things. They're trying to really secure their pot of gold. Their rare earth supplies moving forward to actually push technology to the next level, coming up in the next few decades. And there's some rerouting or separating from their current supply for alternatives, because as we know, China is the main country that is weaponizing their supply of rare earth to kind of blackmail the rest of the world. And so countries are just scrambling to look for their alternatives. Because if I think about the ruler of that Uranus on Algol in Taurus, is that Venus that's conjunct Pallas Athenas and North Node, is about going elsewhere for their supplies.
Right.
And she, as in Venus, and Pallas Athenas and North Node will come into play as we talk a little bit deeper into this eclipse. And what's really interesting is that there's going to be this self-isolation aspect that can be potentially self-destructive. I'm talking about the USA and China. And this is due to some kind of financial crisis that's going to blow up from within. I mean, from China's perspective, this is pretty evident because the different engines of their economic growth have kind of, they're gone. Like the housing bubble, it's like burst for good. And I think we will see the full manifestation of this happening in China. But then when I look at the USA, they're also like moving towards that self-isolation phase in their history.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I had lunch with someone today who was talking about a Edgar Casey prediction that specifically targets an economic collapse for the United States in 2027. And although we are talking about this eclipse coming up, it's also pegged to the other eclipse next winter in just pure Aquarius. And, I mean, it's part of a chain of eclipses. And when I look at your write-up and you're talking about new councils or organizations or unions, etc., but even just Pluto and Aquarius is actually connected historically to times when there were new trading or political or economic alliances formed separate from the boundaries of kings and kingdoms. So, I hate to say it, but Canada, we could see Alberta probably aligning very strongly. No, I don't hate to. I mean, good for Alberta. They got all this oil and gas that are super woke. Some of our, sorry guys, if you all Mr. Environmental, but we have like a ton of ports up north and along the coast in British Columbia, and are super, 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 super liberal or leftist government. It will not open the ports up to distribute the oil that one of our provinces got to distribute. It's trapped in the middle of our country. So we're having fractures here in Canada. It's calm right now because our prime minister is working with it supposedly, but it's a tinder keg of people who want to leave the Union of Canada, and they can legally do it, and more trade with the United States as a sovereign province. So these new alliances are already showing up in our country vis-a-vis the United States.
I guess you have to look at how much American money is pouring into Alberta in order to fund that separatist agenda. I'll just leave it as that.
The United States is a main oil buyer for the money that is coming across the border. Yes.
Yeah.
Always has been.
Yeah. So you need to know how much American money is pouring into Canada just to eventually make the Americas like this whole chunk that belongs to America itself. Yeah. So the next part that I'm going to talk about is regarding the population and housing sector collapse, very much Uranus and Taurus, because a country's resources includes its population. And the last term regarding the real human cause of war is very much linked to, first and foremost, that Uranus and Taurus, but it's also what's ruling that Uranus, which is that Venus conjunct Pallas, Athena, and North Node. And of course, we have that Saturn and Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. Mm-hmm. And this one, I put it as China focused because I don't know if you know about this, but there's recently like a coup on the current chairman in China.
A coup? I know the general was fired.
Not fired, but he
deposed from power. No.
Yeah, arrested, but there's a lot of like rumor mills that's going on whether he's still alive or otherwise.
Okay.
But then this actually leaves a whole consolidation of power that may make the although I still don't see the Taiwan invasion going fully ahead because the Chinese army isn't ready.
Right. So you're saying that Xi Jinping has complete power without the generals, so to speak. Not anyone who would disagree with him or oppose him has been ousted from their position.
I mean, he's the last, star in the eye. That general. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So there's almost like this consolidation of power, but this made China recently pretty radio silent, which is kind of unusual. And so even like within the country itself, there's this underlying anxiety. I'm going to support the current chairman or, because this puts things in this kind of conundrum or just weird ambivalence. That's all I can say.
Okay.
And we may actually anticipate something over this solar eclipse because in China's chart, the modern chart, they have ascendant and the moon in early degrees of Aquarius.
Yes, they do.
Is transitioning. Yeah. So there's going to be also dot provocations because of Uranus in a fixed sign, politically speaking. So there's going to be continuous provocation. And nothing says a classic crypto market eclipse like this one that's coming with Uranus and Taurus. So
no, and
I
on
suppose,
that star, Algol, which
yeah,
by the way was used for wealth magic in
yeah.
medieval astrology, but is also the same placement of the sun of the United States Stock Exchange chart. So New York Stock Exchange. So that New York Stock Exchange natal chart is literally conjunct Algol, the sun, when we're having crypto markets, which we never had before, like super, Uranus, outside the box, inventive, Taurus currency. Okay, tell us, for all the crypto people out there, is this a crypto crash?
Um, that's why I've written here and highlighted in red. People can really Google about this thing called the Clarity Act, because I do see that in this year there's going to be two massive corrections, and one of them is coming up right around this solar eclipse.
Okay.
Yeah. And on top of that, because Uranus and Taurus, right, as the T square to, no, not T square, forming that tight square to the eclipse point in late Aquarius. And Aquarius is code ruled by Uranus, by the way. And so I basically do see that there's natural calamities and disasters picking up speed for Gaia. And this one, I hope I'm wrong, guys, on this one, but after looking at the Capricorn ingress chart of 2025, which holds like 3 months validity, I saw something that's pertaining to the west coast of the US as quite worrying. And it does indicate some form of, or some theme that's surrounding sinking land in the west coast of the US.
Okay.
With that Capricorn ingress chart.
So he's talking astrology, guys, but I've also had 2 or 3 dreams of an earthquake, maybe a tidal wave, mud, and on the west coast of North America, like California, maybe even as far up as where I live, Vancouver, Canada. And I always dream things before they happen. And you actually told me you had a dream as well.
I mean, the first one was in late 2024. And I've said something regarding my 2025 predictions, particularly surrounding the 29 Virgo solar eclipse that happened in the 3rd week of September 2025, that some weird shit's about to happen in that part of the world as well. And recently, I think someone sent me like a reel saying that there's a cluster of like 40 earthquakes that happened in along the west coast of America. Just a few days prior to this recording. So usually the smoke comes before there's fire that you can see. So I've basically put out a prediction zooming in on the west coast of the US, that 11th to 18th of February, it's best that if you can pack a bug out bag, if you need to, just to make sure you can dash out the door in an instant. I mean, I'm talking about places like San Francisco and also Portland.
Yeah, it's funny, not funny, funny, but it's ironic that that's been my main concern as well. And every time I've tapped into my dreams, I'm not getting like Los Angeles. I'm getting up towards San Francisco and Oregon. And maybe that's the Cascadia fault. I don't know. And I think there have been earthquake swarms in California as well, but I didn't know about the latest one. Like this is the thing about Uranus, like he's shaking the earth, you know what I mean? Like Taurus on a very difficult star that doesn't bode well for earth events, let alone square an eclipse. A ring of fire eclipse is squared. And even though the eclipse is only visible, as you know, in weird places like South America, partially visible in Chile or Argentina or South Africa, but the eclipse is square, earth shaking energies. Oh my gosh. I know it's a little nerve wracking. And just so you guys are listening, in my dream, I was in Vancouver, Canada for one of the 3 dreams. And this is in the last 6 months. And I was up at we have something called the University of British Columbia, and it's on a cliff over the ocean. And I was getting my phone going, we have earthquake alerts on our phone here. Alert, 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 earthquake alert, a tidal wave alert, whatever it is. We have those things here. And I'm running down to away from the university and trying to get my daughter on the phone to tell her, because she lives here. So it was very vivid for me that it could impact where I live even, which is Vancouver, Canada. So yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually written here that the West Coast, approximately 1 week prior to this partial solar eclipse, I basically named the period, particularly 11th to 18th of February, that people who are living there, they need to look out for, or shall I say prepare.
Okay.
To be forewarned is to get prepared, right? So I hope I'm wrong on this one, to be honest, but there's converging evidence that suggests that this may actually occur. And why this period is because the ruler of that Uranus, even before the partial solar eclipse happened, is that Venus at 8 to 9 degrees of Pisces, and transiting Mercury is over that point zodiacally.
Oh yeah, so it's at a hot spot in the sky. Yeah.
Yes. So it's 1 week prior, approximately, to this partial solar eclipse.
Okay.
And the next one, this is pretty interesting because when we talk about Uranus, we can't discount the theme of aliens in the sky.
Oh, this is great. I love this stuff.
And I've basically put out a post surrounding this before about potential alien contact disclosure by the government. And this will happen around when this partial solar eclipse progresses via lunar shadows technique into a waxing quarter moon phase.
Okay.
And this happened around mid-November of 2026, and there's something spectacular going on with that quarter moon or lunar phase that's linked to this eclipse, because there'll be a T-square that will be formed with like Sun and Scorpio squaring transit North Node and the Moon in late Aquarius, and then at the same time it's also squaring the transit South Node Mars and Jupiter in late Leo. So it's a very like supercharged waxing.
Well, the movie too. Don't forget the movie that's coming out. The one by Spielberg. He's got a movie getting ready to be released, and it's about disclosure. Like a film. Yeah, not like documentary. Spielberg, Mr. E.T. Go Home or whatever, Come Home, wherever. He's working on a movie. And I think the title is going to be something with the word disclosure. But the reason I bring it up is life mimics art, art mimics life. And, this movie's coming out just as we're seeing the planets line up for more and more disclosure that there are non-terrestrial or non this dimension, other dimensional beings that the United States government is well aware of.
Interesting. And the last point among the stack of potential manifestations is that a king gets succeeded. And I did put out also another prediction before we actually taped this, that King Charles, under the influence of the Leo full moon, leaning into the Aquarius partial solar eclipse, may not survive.
Okay.
I put here that he may transition. Take it as you will, what transition basically means. This can be stepping down from power or transition as into other realms. And also, the former prince that's called Andrew Mountbatten, blah, 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 Windsor. I've looked at his chart, and the particular transit that I've locked in was that transit Venus and Uranus conjunction at 29 Taurus. that will happen at around 23rd of April
Mm-hmm.
2026, he may actually attempt to unalive himself.
So funny you said that, because I was thinking of the same thing just intuitively, but I was thinking to myself, maybe not just like Epstein unalived himself, whether it's a real attempt or a real unaliving, or it's an unaliving that's malefically done to him. But I don't see him surviving this physically for some reason. I want to go back to King Charles. His sun in late Taurus was activated by that kite that occurred on the new moon in November 19th, 18th, which was a humdinger of a kite, and involved lots of energy, Mercury, etc. I just think that moon that we had in November, kind of running through the storyline up until like roughly 6 months, to the full moon energy. So I can see that that's still playing out, rattling over his sun. And I didn't think it was good for his health or his staying around on the planet to finish, being king. I don't see him lasting from that, let alone what you're picking up on the actual eclipse. Okay. Yeah. And to me, it's like, it's like this eclipse is going to be, squaring that sun of his. So yeah, it's not auspicious for him, even though he's been undergoing some kind of aggressive treatments that should be successful.
Not to forget that in the previous video, or podcast that we did, the Mars, Venus, and Sun conjunction, triple conjunction,
Yeah.
they're all squaring his fourth house and Neptune ruler, Venus, also in the fourth. And the fourth house, as we know, talks about end of life.
It talks about end of life, yeah. So we're seeing the same thing here, yeah.
So I've basically added 2 bullet points, and I just want to summarize this basing on what I've also observed in the sky, that it's going to be a very intense period that's coming up. And it's not only that Mercury retrograde that will be linking the solar and the lunar eclipses together, but it's also Mars, Vesta, Pallas of Venus as well. That's going to be transiting in like Aquarius to Pisces, around that part of the zodiac that will be linking these 2 eclipses together. That makes it even more potent.
Right. So, connecting. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Connecting the 2 axes together during his transition to Pisces. And he's going to be visible technically around the 17th of March. Mars will be a visible planet.
And I've basically written here that there's potentials of terrorist attacks coming up with this eclipse portal, on top of tsunamis, because of the ruler of that Uranus, which is Venus, being in the sign of Pisces, which rules just that, terrorist attacks and tsunamis. So there's something pertaining to that I need to warn people. And I would personally not recommend actively traveling from middle of February till when March is over. I'll talk about the whole of March.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I love this guy, guys. Go subscribe. I purposely blocked that on my calendar not to travel in the same window. I have before and after travel, but nothing in that space.
So only from April Fools onwards that you may kind of get a sigh of relief. But because this eclipse portal is going to be for less of a better word, a shit show.
Yeah. Well, Venus
there's
with
no
the North
nice
Node.
way to sugarcoat it. So.
I know, and Venus has got that North Node energy on the eclipse. She's perfectly conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Well, that could be in Hellenistic astrology. It can be something along the lines as she calms down Rahu and makes him sweeter, bonifies him, or it can be also interpreted as the North Node amplifies her exalted status. But we have this asteroid Gong Gong, a sea serpent that causes water disasters, traveling through Pisces for a long time. It's a slow-moving body. I think it's a trans-Neptunian, but whatever, it really is that sea serpent in there since Saturn entered into Pisces, and Gong Gong's hanging out there and still hanging out there. We had a lot of water problems, right? I mean, I just mean like sinking ships, the Titanic submersible imploding underground, the little submarine, stuff like that. And it's just like just having Gong Gong, this water disaster sea serpent, hanging out in Pisces with Venus in the North Node. Well, we know that that's going to be activated by the eclipse in Virgo that's going to happen on March 3rd. All said and done, water danger. And I don't know what other water dangers we might have besides what we think of, tsunamis or whatever, but just danger water.
Yeah. And not to forget that Venus, at the point of this partial solar eclipse, is also conjunct Pallas of Venus, the only goddess asteroid that's born out of a male body as well.
Yes, sprouted from her dad's head.
Yeah, Jupiter or Zeus.
Are we thinking she's also the war god? Like the Romans called her the god of war and victory and war?
She's more strategic in nature. She's more like not overt, but covert in a way. But not to forget that when I think about Pallas of Venus, she's also that daddy's little girl archetype. And this is linked back to the Epstein files. Because as we know, Epstein is very, very much involved in trafficking children. And this is an international ring as well.
Right. Oh, it sure is. Yeah.
I'm talking about, was it the 1999 Turkey earthquake? Young girls and kids were abducted, were kidnapped.
Wow.
For sick pleasures of the elite. I'll leave you as that. So I've even written here that if you have something to back up, when you get to see this video, back it up, because don't depend on cloud storage for the life of God. For stuff to be still there over this eclipse.
Okay, good. That's such a good reminder. Back it up, guys. Get little like hardware, hard drives that you throw stuff onto for later.
Yep. Have it offline,
Yes, what I mean. Yeah, like the little, either your little ones.
Or solid state drive. Yeah.
Solid state drives. Yes. That's a great point. I love that you brought that up. Anything that is like, you think is on the cloud, don't trust.
Well, because that Mercury retrograde in Pisces is linking both eclipses together. So yeah. I wouldn't bet on it.
But the Nipah virus too is something I think will blossom. Not that it will be a thing, actually. It could be more of a scare tactic, but I think that will continue to grow as a story in the next year.
Well, I'll be talking a little bit about that as we go deeper into this eclipse. And what really stood out with this particular solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse that is that the topic of digital sovereignty by nations really came up. And this is probably because this theme is reiterated by that Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries, which is part of the world axis. And on top of that, we've got that transit Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which is about that splitting. When I think about Pisces energy, that two circles, that Viscan Piscean. That reminds me of the sign of Pisces. And we are just kind of separating out from that. And this kind of leads me think that this is only the beginning of that digital sovereignty action by nations that we know of, particularly in the West, but also other countries as well. So I've written here and summarized what the USA is doing. By the way, I know there's a lot of TikTok refugees that kind of like, TikTok's bought over by a Zionist like Larry Ellison. And they want to download Upscroll, the app?
I heard about the Upscroll, yeah.
Look deeper into who actually is behind Upscroll.
You looked into it?
I've looked into it.
So which country?
The blue and white state.
Oh, no. Oh, you can't escape. You can't escape. It's a surveillance state. It's a surveillance country surveilling all of us.
So if you're looking into uninstalling TikTok to go into obscure, I would say hold your horses.
Okay.
You just need to take 5 to 10 minutes to Google who owns what, go down the rabbit hole, and you will know that it boils back to that blue and white state.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know people who are also downloading the Chinese app literate book, whatever that floats your fancy. But this is on top of people trying to get news out of Minneapolis into the masses, that people found the algorithm behaving weirdly. So in terms of what's going on in Russia, on the 1st of March 2026, they are going to cut off the Russian segment of the internet. So you can see how like countries are being more insular and not allowing information to flow.
Mm.
And this is right after the Planetary parade happening on 28th of February, the next day, on the 1st of March 2026. Russia's internet gets a exclusion. And then we've got the EU launching something that is going to decouple reliance on US tech companies and their influence in the continent. Australia has basically taken the liberty to jump in head first by not allowing children under 16 effective on this date. When that, interestingly, when Uranus is back around the same degrees of Taurus as this partial solar eclipse.
Oh, okay. All right. We're back to so the early December energy of the installment of child protection or whatever.
Inverted commerce.
Yeah.
Inverted commas. And for China, they have their own stuff going on in terms of censorship. This is to really cement the legitimacy of the party. So they've been going in many ways to suppress information, but their problem has been going on for a long time, even way back with the one-child policy as well. So I've basically written here that there's a recent coup on Chairman Xi that adds to the party breaking at the seams as we speak.
Okay.
And the last part is I want to put my focus to Denmark because they have this is not passed as a bill yet, but this is to give people legal ownership over their own face, voice, and body to fight AI deepfakes. And I find this really interesting. This is very much Uranus and Taurus energy, and that Mars and Neptune conjunct at 0 Aries as well, on the backs of a Mercury retrograde in Pisces.
I love that. I think that's like, yes, because that is happening all over the internet. And a lot of people who are somehow clueless, maybe old boomers even, they're commenting on AI fakes. Someone's image has been taken, and the words even are used in their voice, and they're commenting, and you can tell, like you and I can tell it's a fake. And often if you read the disclosure, it says AI generated because it's YouTube, but like a lot of the older generation doesn't have a clue. They just think it's the real person.
Yeah. So,
and I'm 63 and I can tell.
A woman never reveals her age.
I reveal my age. I'm happy with it, Donny. And there's no plastic surgery here. This is the real deal.
Well, on the thumbnail, we are always forever 21, right?
Oh, the thumbnail is AI generated by my designer. Yeah, he gets rid of every wrinkle.
And so this has not been passed, as we know, in early 2026. But this is already like drafted and modified to be passed. So Denmark will be the first.
Yeah. And maybe certainly not the last, right? It'll be like...
Also, I've put here that Denmark might be first, but the rest of Europe is watching closely
Yeah.
what this may be. And this is the part regarding the military draft that I was talking about, because this goes back to what's actually activating eclipses, this particular pair. And Mars is also one of the triggers, besides Mercury, and also Vesta and Pallas Athenas. We've talked about what Pallas can mean, which is like something war related, which is the war goddess, born out of Jupiter's or Zeus's forehead. But Mars is also transiting in that Aquarius and Pisces part of the zodiac sign, which is going to trigger the eclipses as well. This pair particularly. And Mars, as we know, has something to do with the military. And I've dug a little bit deeper. I've basically put here what's actually triggering Trump's chart and also what's triggering JD Vance's chart around the eclipse portal, particularly this partial solar eclipse. And I've written here that there's a window for JD Vance to take over because of Trump's health conditions. And this is all clustering around transit activations in April, in the second half of April 2026.
Wow.
First one by that Mercury, Mars, and Saturn triple conjunction at 7 to 8 degrees of Aries, squaring his Mercury. Mercury can mean health, something related.
Because, well, especially in his house of hospitals.
Not to forget that Mercury rules his sun and Uranus, and
exactly, yeah, rules the sun, is sitting in the house of hospitals. Yeah, and then so lots of layers on that.
Right, and it's also triggering JD Vance's chart. So this can be one of the possibility, but I do see there's another way that Trump may use this energy as well when the second half or the latter half of April comes in 2026, and this is to really enact the military draft. And I've written here, this hasn't been enacted since 1973, and this is basically the summary of the consequences of not abiding by what the draft is laid out to do.
Wow.
Okay. And then to go one step further, after scrutinizing the astrocartography or ACG map of this solar eclipse, if he, which I think he will, enact the military draft, is not so much about Iran or what's going on there. It's more about Greenland, and perhaps also an incident that may actually happen within Europe.
Okay.
That may drive him to do this. And I also want to mention here that sanctuary states like California, there's an asterisk here. When it's July 4th this year, in 2026, there's a Mars and Uranus conjunction in Gemini. Right before the US goes through its Uranus return. And USA's Uranus is angular in the 7th house in Gemini. And the energy of Mars and Uranus conjunct in the sky on Independence Day this year in 2026 is angular both in Iran and also right over the state of California.
Oh.
So whatever is happening in Minneapolis may actually migrate.
Okay.
To California.
Uh-huh.
So take note of what's happening in July over there.
Right. Right. The Greenland thing.
The Greenland thing, like a trigger. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to say I agree with you. I don't think the Greenland thing is going away.
No, because it's for their long-term building of what I call the consolidation process.
Right. Yep.
This part.
And Trump's, is it Trump or Musk? Elon Musk or Trump's grandparent or whatever had a vision of the United States owning Greenland. It can't be Musk because he's from South Africa. It's Trump. Trump had like family in Canada. I don't know if you know, go up his ancestral line. And there is a story there about his grandfather or his great grandfather who lived in Canada, but then maybe moved to America. But there was this whole thing about there's history there that this guy wanted to consolidate Canada, Greenland, and the United States into one big mega country. And that's in his ancestral line. That is not a conspiracy. That is true. But I'm just trying to remember which relative. It's a father, grandfather, great grandfather of Trump's had this vision of the three countries. And he lived in Canada at the time, actually.
Basically, that's part of what I'm putting out behind a paywall as my post.
Okay, wonderful.
Because
you and I are so psychic together. We have such a good
because that's controversial, and there's going to be a consolidation of sorts.
Okay, so go to the secret place to get the secret info. When it comes to YouTube banning, demonetizing, etc., that won't get us demonetized. This will go through, but if it does, that I said that I'll delete that and edit this video. But also, they tend to have more concern right now about other demonetizable. So this one will get by. This will get by. But it's interesting that you know about that too. I love that. So go find out more.
There is consolidation of sorts, and I see that very clearly through the transit Venus star point shifts that's coming up.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I should practice. Oh, Canada, my home and native land, true patriot love. I should basically practice that song for a while because it might not be here forever. I might be American after all.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah. But we live in interesting and very critically important turning point times, right? We're living in times that the Hopi prophecies talk about, that Edgar Cayce predicted. We're living in a time of seismic shift, geopolitical wise, sort of climate wise, but for reasons that aren't what we're told. And also, there's a shift towards people awakening. I don't just mean being woke to like the archons or the fallen angels or to the powers that be, the elites, as you call them. I'm talking about people are having spiritual awakenings as well. And I have clients and I have friends, and I'm seeing all kinds of people moving into, I hate to say a higher vibrational frequency. It sounds so new age, but moving away from living in a fear-based modality and coming into a place of inner sanctuary, peace, and equanimity within themselves. Because, I don't know. There's probably, was it Gandhi or somebody or Nelson Mandela? I don't know. But, if you want to change the world, you got to start with yourself, really, right? The shifts have to be within ourselves. And all that complacency when people see horrendous things happening in the world, like a GEGEN.OCIDE, and no one can do anything or can't, and we're all numbed out. We're all paralyzed to live through a 2-year geocide. It's like people are deers in the headlight. You freeze, you flee, or you fight. And a great deal of the world has gone into freeze mode, overwhelmed. Yeah. But I think there's a shift coming, especially with this mini grand trine in July being quite exact, through to 2027, where people are coming out of a trance. You know what I mean? They're waking up, not just to what's really going on, but to that own inner peace within themselves. Because if you don't go, I hate the cliches. I'm good at you don't go within, you go without, but you're either going to be a non-player character or like a deer in the headlights or a pawn wandering around in a stupor while the world, is going through its stuff, or you're going to start to go inward and get the answers within yourself. Does that make sense to you, Donny?
Very much so. I think with that July, when there's a cradle being formed in the sky, or at 4 degrees zodiacally, so it's going to be pretty exact.
Yeah.
With the rim of that cradle that contains the baby, hence cradle, having that Jupiter-Pluto opposition is going to really shake things up. It's going to be really playing in our faces that there's no way denying it. I don't really care how callous your third eye gland is or pineal gland is, but by then you're gonna be like your bubbles.
Even if you've got calcified fluoride pineal gland, you're still going to have a wake up call. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be an intense
when it's pretty
journey.
exact. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And the 4 degrees, like the 4 is the number of the material realm, like manifest world, the realm of materia, the materia. So we shall see. And also the number of emperors or kings. So we shall see what happens here. Oh, it's so exciting. I stuck around for this. I didn't decide to leave the planet. I'm still here. Going for it.
And I just want to add that besides California, I've also spotted another sanctuary state, which is New York, that's about to get the same manifestation as well.
Okay.
So whatever that's going on in Minneapolis is going to happen in California, but on a secondary level, it's going to happen in New York.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. New York's got that new guy, the new mayor. He's quite controversial. So
right.
We'll see what goes on, Mom Donny. All right. Well, this was so much fun. I think we kept ourselves we went a little bit over, probably 75 minutes, but we tried, Donny and I, to keep it to an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Do you have a last minute, you want to round us up with the last yeah,
slide? I'm just going to really quickly finish things up. Yep. And I'm just going to go pretty fast from now on. So this is the astrocartography map, and I'm zooming in on Southeast Asia when that Saturn and Neptune at 0 degree Aries energy is really prevalent. So I've basically written here which places in the world will have that transit Saturn Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries angular at the point of this solar eclipse. One of them I've highlighted is Alaska. Is well within the Pacific Ring of Fire. If you think about Saturn Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, you think about that Pacific Ring of Fire being activated a lot. But then we've also got Beijing, North South Korea, Japan. I've written here in Japan that not this eclipse, but the next one in August, we may actually see like a gas cloud or chemical accident or clouding happening over Japan. It's a catastrophe, and it's going to be externally sabotaged or compromised to make it even worse. Hong Kong as well, Taiwan, Philippines. So over this partial solar eclipse, I wouldn't go to these places highlighted in red.
Yeah.
I've mentioned. And I've reiterated here that from mid-February till all of March, if you want to travel, try to avoid that period. And also back your data up. So how about the eclipse point? Where is it angular? All these places. So not surprisingly, it is over India. And this can be referring to the landmark agreement with the EU that India signed. So there's going to be a lot more trade going on with India and the EU. Lastly, the eclipse point basically crosses over Miami and Palm Beach, and we know where Mar-a-Lago is in Palm Beach, and also in Washington, D.C. So there's going to be more smoke and mirrors or distraction from the Epstein files. And where is Uranus? Where is it angular? It's over Minneapolis. So there's about to be some other stuff happening there. And Uranus is also angular over Calcutta, India. So this can be the Nipah virus thing.
Yeah, I don't like that eclipse in Virgo because it will, if there's going to be an illness of any kind, it's going to be activated. And with Mars, the god of plagues, Nergal, the Babylonian god of war and plagues, is the emissary is Mars, looking at that whole scene from Aquarius during the Aquarius eclipse, right? And even from late Aquarius during the March eclipse, right? He's going to be at the late degrees of Aquarius still. Does he move into, is it March 3rd that Mars moves into Pisces?
Pisces, yeah.
Yeah. So given he's a plague,
1st of March.
Okay, so he's moved on, but we still have him in a vibrational frequency from this eclipse in Aquarius. I don't know. I just don't feel good about Nipa. I can just like feel a vibe, right? Since they said Nipa, I thought it's not like monkeypox. I never felt bad about monkeypox. Oh, monkeypox. Nipa, I have a different feeling.
Right. I think, sorry, let me just pull up my astro software. Mars will ingress into Pisces on 3rd of March. So yeah, it's the day of the total lunar or blood moon eclipse. So we've covered this point. I think I need to come back in April because in April there's going to be this energy that's clustering over this line again, this Saturn-Neptune angular line crossing right over here in the same location. And this is going to cover Taiwan.
Yes. And by the way, the Mars-Saturn conjunction.
Mercury.
Mercury. Well, the pileup of the stellium in Aries has a correspondence with Taiwan and China problems historically. I think that was one of Dan Waite's finds from World Astrology Report, and coming from it from a different angle. So we're definitely looking at a continuation of more stories there, but for some reason I don't think we're going to see the worst of it.
No, it may not be like an overt attack, but it may be something like surrounding Taiwan to starve,
Yeah, a flotilla of warships, forcing, keeping food out. Yeah, sure, I can see that. I don't see don't see it as a war, and I'm using astrology as well as my intuition. I don't see that it's going to actually be a massive and then the United States sends warships and then there's a showdown. I'm not getting Bay of Pigs either. I'm just getting it's going to be people are too busy with everything else going on, and it's just happening over there. The world would be whatever.
There's also the fact that war has taken a lot of other forms as well, besides what we traditionally know as war.
Oh, sure.
It may be destroying Taiwan politically from within.
Yeah,
that as well.
Yeah.
And so we move on to the March total lunar eclipse. And I've said this in our last podcast surrounding this is part of the near tetrad of blood moon eclipses. This is the 3rd consecutive one that's technically classified as a total lunar eclipse. So this is going to be potent. So I've written here that, refer to the previous podcast that we did. And I've also written here what this, pardon me, a typo, TLE, total lunar, not total solar, total lunar eclipse. And what does this mean? And we've already felt an activation of this total lunar eclipse before. And this happened at around 3rd to 21st of December 2025, when the transit true north node conjunct this eclipse point within 1 degree orb. And what actually happened on 14th of December 2025 at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, on the first day of Hanukkah, which is a Jewish holiday. I've went on to plot the local space lines because I've gotten a pretty accurate event when it happened. And this basically traces back to that blue and white state, which I shall not mention.
Yeah, of course. It's it's a made up problem. I mean, the event is meant to galvanize sentiment, right? Around how
they want a certain narrative.
They want a certain narrative. I know. Yeah. Gotcha. Hopefully you guys know what we mean by blue and white. Think of a flag. With a star in the middle.
Star of David in the middle. Yeah. Right. So and so this is the astrocartography map of that total lunar eclipse. So I've also written here which places are of highlight. And this time it is Hawaii. That's pretty cool. So there may be some activation of that Pacific Ring of Fire that's going to cause like Piscean-like tsunamis. Yeah, over there. And this is on top of the usual suspects like Beijing, North South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Philippines. I wouldn't go to these places over this total blood moon lunar eclipse around that time. But also Thailand has come up over here as well. Because if you think about earthquakes, I think the most recent one was in Myanmar that impacted Thailand in the capital, Bangkok, pretty severely. And over this total lunar eclipse, Thailand is also on the to watch list. I wouldn't visit there if,
Yeah. So, don't get out and travel unless you need to. Absolutely be safe until late March, especially on the magenta of Hawaii, Beijing, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Philippines, and Thailand. And Hawaii.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
And not surprisingly, there's also a highlight with Miami and Palm Beach and DC.
Wow.
So we will probably see more smoke and mirrors and news that's trying to distract us pertaining to the Epstein files.
Yeah. Well. Good luck with that. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. I think it's like, I think I can only imagine there's cross purposes going on in the United States government, because when they released the files and then they pulled them out and there were some places that weren't redacted. I almost think it's sort of like there's factions fighting within the United States government around releasing the true documents, which they've been doing, and people trying to still cover it up. I don't know who the factions are. I don't even know what they would be doing, but I don't think that's that based on Epstein's chart, even if he's alive or dead. I mean, his chart's still very highly activated. So I just don't know. Maybe the big scandal is he never died. Maybe there's more evidence that he was an asset of an intelligence agency of a blue and white country.
Double agent. I think that's the most accurate term.
Maybe, well, a co-agent, but maybe a double agent. Like, there's so much. This would make a good movie if it wasn't so tragically and pathetically sad, sick, and evil, given that minors were involved. So,
and where is Uranus angular? It's over central USA, still close to Minneapolis. And Uranus is also angular energetically over central India this time.
Okay.
Not Calcutta like the previous partial solar eclipse. So there may be something they're trying to stir on the media. I just want to conclude this presentation by saying that this February's solar eclipse, it holds extra importance because 18 months down the road, there will be an annular lunar eclipse around the same degree. I think this time is at 24-ish degrees. So if you have anything that's 23 to 29 degrees of the fixed signs, is part of the story that's going to unfold over the next 3 years. And for the lunar eclipse, do I have anything for the audience? Yeah. Because this is a lunar eclipse, which means something has started prior, a new moon. And the new moon basically started on 3rd of September 2024. Look at that new moon on 3rd September 2024. If there's anything that's triggering your chart, this is the culmination point.
Okay, so what was the date? September what?
3rd.
September. So go back to your life, September 3rd. That was the seed for this eclipse. Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, and this will complete as part of a longer cycle all the way till let me see, 18 months from 3rd of March, 2026.
So we had a lot of stuff happen in September, including September 10th and the assassination of a young guy. So CK, just watching my shadow bands here. So that story is enmeshed in that Virgo eclipse as well.
I just want to mention here that this particular eclipse, lunar eclipse, Minneapolis have their natal Saturn at 12 to 13 degrees of Pisces.
Oh my God.
So there's something going on with Minneapolis over this total blood moon lunar eclipse as well.
Okay. Well, we should watch with anticipation how that news story unfolds. So, thanks,
so do
Donny.
I have anything more? Yeah. All good.
Yes. Well, we did a good job. We made it 90 minutes instead of 60, but that's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this, by the way. Let's say goodbye with our faces so people can see us. Then I'm going to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Long work day for me here in Canada. I'm at 7 p.m. I go to bed at 9. I hope you guys will please go over and visit Donny's channel, Substack article, link below. This is a collab. There'll be a subscribe button for him. Give this guy some love. He quit corporate to follow his passion as a astrologer priest. So we're going to reward astrologer priest monk who quit corporate in order to follow his passion, and he's brilliant and lots of fun to hang out with. I hope you all enjoyed that. And Donny, I do appreciate your astrology. It's glittery and golden. You and Dan Waits are my favorite mundane astrologers. So what a blessing to have you on the channel.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, till next time then, hopefully in April.
Absolutely. And I know you had a little episode with digestive stuff, so feel better. And I will see you on my next collab together. I look forward to doing that with you.
Very cool.
Okay. Bye, my dear.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.